Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It is the end of November, more or less, and we are here in the UK at Donington Park Racing Circuit. We're on the national circuit this evening for the Next Gen Formula 4 series. Now we're back to the normal schedule of a 20-minute race, followed by a 5-minute warm-up, then a 50-minute race. So back to the original format. Obviously, last time we had the, I think it was the hour 15 race. So a long haul for these drivers. However, this time it's now split up into two. I have to admit, I quite enjoyed the one long race, to be fair. That was my preferred setup, I think. I thought that was quite interesting, especially when it comes to the pit stops, having to do two. Some cars even going as far as doing three. But it was certainly an interesting day out for those races and myself. But we are here at Donington this evening, and we'll be bringing some more fantastic racing to your screens for the Formula 4 series. As you can see, the cars are lined up there on the grid and getting ready. So Isaac Doble will lead the cars off underway for the first race, followed by Lee Holmes in P2, Rhys Saunders P3, Jason Landry P4, Dan Morey P5, James Parker P6, Shane Piggott P7, Glenn Humberstone P8, Alistair Hatcher P9, Sean Doby P10, Anthony Hilton P11 and Mikel Andreasen P12 there. So that is all your cars. They're lined up, ready to go on the grid pretty much, or well, getting ready, I should say. They're not all there just yet, but you can see they're starting to come into screens now. See if we can see your leader. There he is, Isaac Doble. And the man that starts in P1, the best position to start these evenings. He'll be getting us underway here very shortly from that pole position. You can hear the revs getting up for the cars. And you know what that means. We are getting ready to get off and get underway. And there we go. Smoke from tyres from pretty much every vehicle on the grid, and the 65 maintains the lead for a few seconds for the 35 of Lee Holmes, gets his nose in front, but side by side through turn one for the leaders then, and they're not going to let each other off this easily because, well, Donington is a fantastic track for going side by side, and that's been demonstrated now as we have all P1 and 2 side by side, then P3 and P4 also side by side, and going throughout the grid. Now we're starting to see some single file, but a great start for all these cars. A nice clean start as well. There's no carnage just yet. But then again, I've just said that, and in the background looks like James Parker. Yep, gone completely the wrong way, unfortunately, for the number 20. But no need to fear, it is only the 20-minute race, so there's still going to be time and points left for grabs here. Isaac Doble does get a lovely line through that last chicane, and he completes lap number 1 in the lead. So the quickest lap so far goes to Mikel Andreasen on a 1:08.9. As you can see already, the gap pulling away between Lee Holmes and Jason Landry. And now is that going to be a gap that gets bigger and bigger as the race goes on? Is that going to be the reoccurring theme here this evening? The leaders come through the final chicane once more. Let's come back to Rhys Saunders then. Car number 8 currently in P4. In a bit of a sandwich at the moment. However, seeing some friendly colours in his rear view mirror. Now I have reports that Alistair Hatcher has had an incident or a crash, is what it's coming up with on our feed here, and he does find himself towards the rear of the pack, so it looks to be true. as you can see there off in the distance already, the leaders are getting on to the second part of the track. Let's jump to Shane Piggott, who had some quick times in the practice before we went into the qualifying session, and well, he's certainly got some pace for the 133 machine. And speaking of cars having a few slip-ups here and there, Jason Landry, unfortunately just having a bit of an off-track, but manages to get back on circuit and get underway again. Luckily, well, I don't know if it's possible or not, but I was going to say luckily he hasn't beached it. I can't remember the last time I saw a vehicle beached on this simulator. As we see Mikel Andreasen opting to defend that inside line and forcing Rhys Saunders to go around the outside if he wants that position. And it depends on how badly he wants to move up that place. What does Rhys Saunders do? Is he going to have to look towards the outside? Does he get the inside? Doesn't quite get his nose up there, unfortunately. Although, if this was tin top, there would currently be bumper to bumper, and there'd probably be a bit of door banging involved here as well. As the number 69 and number 8 do battle and switch places as well. As your number 8 car has overtaken Mikel Andreasen, whose car of focus right now in the black and orange. Now let's see what the run is like down the straight. Bit of defensive work there for Rhys Saunders. That's his work cut out for him. And there's a bit of contact there between him and Mikel Andreasen. And Rhys carries on and rejoins the circuit. And not too far away from Mikel Andreasen, but there was wheel-to-wheel contact there. You saw Rhys's car jump up. And unfortunately, by the time the car had landed again, he was way too close to the chicane to get the brakes on and get that car stopped. So Rhys Saunders unfortunately does fall back just a position or two. Nevertheless, I'm sure he can get the pace on and get back to where he once was. He's not a slow person, Rhys Saunders. He's got some good speed about him, and I'm sure that'll be out there on display here this evening as well. Looks like Lee Holmes has had a bit of a slip up here. You see Lee Holmes fallen down the pack quite quickly. He was just on the back of our leader, and then all of a sudden jumped to 1.5 seconds behind. And well, now he's jumped from 1.5 seconds behind to 5th. So he really has fallen off just a bit. And just in behind Lee at the moment, we've got Anthony Hilton and Rhys Saunders doing battle. Rhys Saunders once again, inside line job, gets the move done. And to round off your first 6 minutes, there's been a few passes here this evening straight away, and that's showing good signs for when we get into that 50-minute race, which will be coming up straight after this 20-minute sprint. So there will be a pit stop that will be needed during that second race, as the 110 looks to have the inside line. Unfortunately, doesn't have the speed to keep his nose on the inside of that Altitude Esports car. That is Rhys Saunders, that number 8 there. Name that I feel like we've said multiple times over the last couple of laps, but that man is the one that's getting the work done at the moment in terms of swapping and changing positions. Isaac Doble with a dominating performance this far. Clear of the pack by quite some margin. Rhys manages to have a lovely lap there, and unfortunately for the likes of Anthony Hilton, who's just behind the car of focus here, which is Glenn Humberstone, who's come up out of nowhere. But Anthony Hilton just in behind the 110. Here he is, having a bit of a slip up there towards the end of the lap. It was actually coming out of that final turn, out of the chicane, and unfortunately went a little wide. You could hear him bouncing around on the grass in the background. We briefly saw him for a second deep into the grass. So he has conceded a single position due to that situation. However, he is all over the back of Glenn Humberstone, so Glenn's just got some thinking to do in terms of how to keep that car behind him. drivers really do need to try and get into some form of rhythm with this circuit and this car, the combination of the two, because, well, I find that rhythm is certainly something that helps with racing. If you can get into a nice rhythm around the track, everything will seem to flow a lot nicer than it almost seeming very improvised. As Anthony Hilton unfortunately gone a little wide there, and it looks like he's going to concede a position as well that he has down into P9, but he's going to fight back for it straight away. Side by side now with James Parker. And James Parker up the inside line at the moment. He's going to fall to the outside for these two very slight left-handers before the next major turn. He's on the inside line again, so the advantage is still going to go his way. He manages to block out Anthony Hilton and maintain that place. So P8 it is for James Parker. Great bit of racing there. We've only had one incident in terms of a collision between two vehicles. Apart from that, we don't seem to be having any of them around this circuit. So this could be one of the more peaceful circuits in terms of some side-by-side racing. Jump back up to our Great Dane. Cal Andreasen. You can see he's about 6/10 off of Shane Piggott. Again, Shane very consistent, putting in some good lap times. And finds the 133 car inside the podium spots. Not letting Cal Andreasen get too close either, managing to eke out a 1/10 of a second over this last lap, and potentially more as time goes on, but we'll see, because the time between the two is fluctuating. So we are now approaching our halfway mark in this session. 10 minutes have now gone at this time round, 10 minutes yet to go. Some 105s coming in as well, quickest laps for some of the drivers out there. I was about to mention, Glenn Humberstone does seem to be closing that gap, but just as I was about to say that, the gap extends once more for the 121, chasing down James Parker, the number 20, is currently P7. A bit wide there for James Parker. However, Glenn unfortunately hasn't got enough in him to make it count, make it worthwhile, as the gap remains roughly about the same as it once was a moment ago. As we see a 1 minute 5.4 posted by your leader, 1:05.2 for Dan Morey, so even quicker at that, or quickest, shall we say. And the purple lap time now goes to James Parker, believe it or not, who's actually the car in front of us here, 1:05.209. That'll be the car of focus here at the moment. James Parker, that's the quickest lap of the session. I may not know it, depending on if he has a spotter or not. There we go, another lap has been and gone. 1 minute 5.6 flat for your leader, Isaac Doble. Dan Morey, 1 minute 5.7. 1 minute 5.2 for Lee Holmes. So, quick laps are flying in around the mid-pack. You would have thought after the sheer dominance and the pulling away that Isaac Doble has done, thought his name would be on that top spot for the quickest lap. That's actually fallen down to the racers in the mid-pack territory. time tyre on the left hand side of the screen. Lee Holmes is now starting to claw that gap back to Mikel Andreasen. 35 slowly cutting down the time to the car ahead, the black and orange car there. 104.914, quickest lap time of the session so far. You can see the amount of pace he really does have on this car. As you can see, the gap's closing up even more since the start line. We've only been through a couple of corners. He's looking for the attack. You can see him sort of second guessing himself on some of these moves. He finds himself towards the outside line, but well blocked off there for Mikel Andreasen, who's going to be trying to defend this position as best as he can. Well, this will be a prime time to get past your opponent on the straight. Get that draft. Try and use that to your advantage to get around. Lee Holmes opted for the outside line. Doesn't get it, unfortunately. But this is going to come down to the wire between these two. It's getting very close indeed. As you see, 35 just sitting off of the car of Mikel Andreasen. Almost a bit of contact there. I think there might have been actually between the front wing and the rear of that car. I'm going to go wheel to wheel. Again, a little bit of contact. Not much though. Not enough to do any serious damage. You can see the front wing of Lee Holmes' car there is more or less dead straight. So clearly that didn't do enough damage to put any dents in it. Which is a good thing in his book. Probably a little bit worried and maybe running it a bit easier as well, so it's a bit of a lighter job for the car. You see this grip really now starting to come together as the time is dwindling down within the last 5 minutes of the session. Mikel Andreasen once again on the defence, but as Lee Holmes got him this time around, he is side by side now. He's on the outside line though. He's going to have to do something special to pull this off. And is it going to go 3 wide? It is going to go 3 wide. Not going to go 3 wide into turn 1. I thought it looked like it was, but it wasn't meant to be, as Lee Holmes does go wide off of the turn 1 exit, and he's actually going to lose another position there, unfortunately for Mr. Holmes, down into P6. But how long for? That's going to be the question. I thought he was going to shoot straight back then on that right-hander, but he doesn't do so and ends up falling back ever so slightly. So looking here towards Rhys Saunders once again, another car chasing down Mikel Andreasen, and unfortunately putting a couple of tyres wide and not able to keep the car fully on the circuit to maximise that grip to catch the quick driver of Mikel. Here we go again. I'm right on the outside line of turn 1. So this didn't work last lap. Is it going to work this lap? That's going to be the question. As you can see, look careful there. You can see Lee Holmes now coming into the action as well. Lee Holmes gets his place back. Now he finds himself on the back of Mikel Andreasen himself. And once more going for the attack almost straight away on the outside line. Cuts towards the inside. Unfortunately won't have the speed to get that move done straight away. It's always a good move to do there. So you can get your nose up the inside, it's going to work wonders for you. Unfortunately, not able to do it this far yet. And he's had to pull out once or twice going around the outside line. And well, this time he certainly isn't pulling out of it. The 35 does keep going around. He's going to be side by side, but not with the person he wants to be. Oh, almost contact there between Rhys Saunders and Lee Holmes. Look towards Rhys Saunders, and he's even struggling to get past Mikel Andreasen. Now they're side by side, Lee Holmes and Saunders. You see the number 8 there, outside line, goes to the inside, then defends, and almost looks like a really aggressive defensive move due to the movement of, I think it's James Parker in the background. It is indeed as our number 8 now. Rhys Saunders chasing down the 69 of Mikel Andreasen. Massively wide there from Mikel. That's going to let Reese straight through, and Reese has broken the defence and removed those ankles and moved on. And the man that's been battling with Mikel for the last few laps now finds himself in front as well, so unfortunately Mikel has lost all 3 positions to these cars. Lee Holmes is not too much better. He's lost 2 positions to the cars ahead. Probably feels a bit hard done at the minute because he feels like that probably should have been him sitting there out towards the front of this group. Andreasen actually comes into the pit lane. Alistair Hatcher into the pits at the moment as well, 1 lap down. You see James Parker here taking a attacking role rather than defensive, looking to get by Reece Saunders as soon as possible. Again, almost bumper to bumper as these guys go around this circuit. Let's check in with your leader then, Isaac Doble, coming around to the start-finish line there. He's done a 1:05.2. I believe this should be the white flag lap, so this should be the last one. So we jump back here, and it looks like Lee Holmes has got in front of this group of cars and finds himself just outside of the podium. Reece Saunders only 7/10 behind though, that P4 spot, so Lee needs to try and keep it pulled together. Not lose too much time here. We see Lee Holmes once again under pressure, but just as I say that, Isaac Doble, he'll be coming across the line now in P1, so that's a race win for Isaac Doble for the first race of this evening. It looks like once again we switch away from our leader, and Lee Holmes has actually lost positions there to Reece Saunders and James Parker. Sounds like his car's actually out of fuel by the sounds of things. It does sound like a fuel issue, so that's cost Lee Holmes 2 positions there. That's P4 all lined up. Just needed that finish. But unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. Falls down a couple of places there. So what we'll do is we'll bring you your results here for this race, and they are as follows. And Isaac Doble finished P1, Dan Morey P2 with Shane Piggott in P3, Reece Saunders P4, James Parker P5, Lee Holmes P6, Glenn Humberstone P7, Mikel Andreasen P8, Jason Landry P9, Anthony Hilton P10, and Sean Dolby P11, and Alistair Hatcher in P12. What we're going to do then, everyone, after that lovely race there at the start, we're going to jump to our intro screen, and we'll be back in just a moment ready for race 2. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we return for our 15-minute endurance race. Come on up here in just a few moments. As October towards the back of the pack, Mikel Andreasen towards the front. Gotta find out who your leader is. And we are off and underway. And it's Jason Landry there who was leading this race, or starting in P1. And he falls down to P2 straight away. Now we saw the defensive work Mikel Andreasen was doing in that first race, and I think we might see a defensive masterclass again. All he has to do is survive these first few corners, and then it does all come down to how well he can defend. Because we saw him hold off at least 3 cars last race, so he's definitely got it in his locker to defend against a pack like this. And he's certainly on fighting calibre as well for these races. Anthony Hilton out of the session, but it didn't get out of us. As you can see there, lap number 1 completed. There's a bit of an off track there for, I think that is Reece Saunders. No, in fact it's Glenn Humberstone, sorry. Glenn Humberstone. A little bit of an off track here early on in this racing session. At the inside of his teammate. More off tracks there as well. I think there's James Parker off track there. It was, and big time slowing down as well. Unfortunately, having pretty much the entire pack overtake him. See there, 1 minute 6.6 for Dan Morey, who comes across the line with the quickest lap of the session so far. Once again, it's the mid-packers with the quickest lap, and seems like the leaders around here struggling for pace at the moment. See this long train of cars not tucked up behind your leader, though. Mikel Andreasen only has Lee Holmes in behind him. We've only got 1 car to really defend against at the moment, but that could easily change. There's only a second and a bit between second and third. And after the first race, we've seen how quickly things can change with just 1 off track, 1 slip up, 1 mistake, 1 anything. Can all go out the window in a heartbeat. So see Lee Holmes attacking the outside of Mikel Andreasen and maintaining some fantastic grip around there and getting into that top spot. So at the moment, it is Lee Holmes leading the way. In that number 35 car, the number 69 of Mikel Andreasen, who's the car focus at the moment. Currently chasing in a close P2, but like I said, between P2 and P3 there was 1.3 seconds. There's now 0.3 of a second, so that shows you how quick these cars really are and how good these drivers are as well in terms of closing the space. looks like Glenn Humberstone has jumped into the pits. So he's gone for an early pit stop, potentially, or potential retirement. But 1 minute 5 is a quick time there for Reece Saunders, who's in this mix here, and he's actually just at the back of this group, car number 8. See there, the leader side by side. This is like watching F4s on Noah's Ark at the minute, all side by side through the curves. It's a fantastic line there for Mikael Andreasen, who maintains his lead. And not too sure what happened there to Sean Dobie, but finds himself in a bit of no man's land there. Mikael Andreasen almost seems stopped at the side of the road. So he goes into the final chicane now. Back to your leaders then, still side by side going down the home straight. There's Jason Landry on the inside line that does take that race lead, but how long for? Because this is where things can get a bit tight. He does very well indeed to get that position back and maintain for now. See, number 5 sitting in the lead at the moment, and the person I thought may well go the entire distance within sort of top 5. Definitely, but almost top 3, I'd say, is Mikael Andreasen, because of that magnificent defence work we saw on race 1. We saw that again on race 2, unleashed properly. Then definitely going to be in a higher finishing position for Mr. Andreasen. Jason Landry does have some thinking to do, some defending work potentially as well, because he's got Reece. So this is the order of these 4 cars: Jason Landry, Reece Saunders, Lee Holmes and Isaac Doble. Obviously all names we've heard battling for the lead. Definitely have to do some defensive work here. Come up to the final chicane. The first 8-ish minutes have been and gone, and already we're seeing Reece Saunders into the pits. We've got an early pit strategy there for Reece Saunders. Maybe he feels like he's quicker than the leader, so he's getting his pit stop done early. And he's just left the pits, Reece Saunders. So if he can get his tyres back up to optimal temperatures and start racing his heart out, he could easily take the lead here on a massive undercut, really. Be fantastic to see if that does actually happen. See the gap between Alsa Hatcher and Sean Dobie now closing up. 2 of the same livery out there as well. We do see a few cars running the same livery as each other, acting either as teammates or just wanting to represent the same teams, but not engage in teammate activity on the track. As we've sure we've seen it before many different places, including different next-gen races as well. You do get a lot of team play in these races, especially the longer ones. Chicane is Alistair Hatcher and Sean Dobie. Now pit lane for Lee Holmes. Let's have a quick look at Lee Holmes then. So coming into the pit stop at the moment, he's got to find his little pit slot, which is coming up. There it is. Car in front of him, I believe, is Glenn Humberstone. He's missing the rear wing of his vehicle, so I believe they'll be getting a replacement on there as soon as possible. Do we see that car lift up any way, shape or form? No, we don't. So it is just fuel for Mr. Holmes. And I imagine that'll be the theme of the stop. So no fresh tyres for these guys. It will just be run the tyres till the end. But fuel is a needed thing here. As we look towards Alistair Hatcher at the moment, who is gaining ever so slightly on Sean Dobie. They come down the line, pretty much side by side now, heading in towards turn 1. Again, fantastic stuff, more side by side action around Donington, never gets old. As you can see, we do see several of the same livery by the looks of it, just with some minor adaptations. Just so it stands out enough to tell the difference for myself and all of you watching at home, so you can easily work out who is who. So you can see the gaps are starting to come up closer and closer now, with Rhys Saunders setting the quickest lap time, 1 minute 5.1. Saunders and Andreasen, now that's a battle we've seen already. I wouldn't mind watching it one more time. Just as I say, the gap is coming down here. We're then getting into a bit of a three-way battle here. And just if Sean Dobie can pull some time in a bit more, this will be a one-tree tight Formula 4 sandwich. Once again, the outside line that people are going for is not working, but I think we're seeing people trying the cutback, and it's just not pulling off quite well for them just yet. Still potential chance that it could work in this race. It is a long race after all, averaging just over a minute per lap. We saw Mikel Andreasen, like I said earlier, doing some spectacular defensive work in race 1. Was he able to do it in race 2? Well, unfortunately, to start with, the answer to that is no. And has found himself here now in P8. The comeback drive could well be on, like I was just saying a minute ago. Plenty of time in this race. As you can see there, they're allowed to cross over the white dotted line. Now that is the pit exit line. We tend to see people dip tyres into that section just to give them a better run through turns 1. This is the point where in the racing the times do tend to spread out, but they will naturally come back together again, because some of these guys have been for their pit stop early on and others are still yet to go. I'm at 5.139. Lee Holmes, quickest lap time of the session this far. Now P10 again, not people at the top of the grid that are putting in these quick lap times. Seems to be people a bit further down. Now, whether that's due to drafting, which this track is a drafting circuit, it's very easy to draft around on this circuit, or whether it's just because people aren't pushing as hard, and as I say, smooth is fast. So it could also be that. There could be many factors as to how that time is going up. As you can see, the gap is really starting to form up now between Dan Morey and Jason Landry. Bring up your class leaders at the top of the screen. Now I realise that Doble's name... Well, yeah, sorry, it is Doble's name. I looked at that and I thought, it's Sean Doby, but no, we do have Isaac Doble here as well. So, not too sure why Doble's name is up there twice. However, Isaac Doble is obviously the leader of the gold class, and Alistair Hatcher, leader of the silver class. Alistair being in P3 overall as well, so fantastic positioning for him. Now let's look at this name who's now pushing up the grid as well, Mikael Andreasen. He's starting to work his way up there, P5 currently. Getting reports that Dan Morey's actually crashed, and there, yeah, you can see he's off track currently at the moment. Works his way back on. Remember, there is going to be dirt on those tyres, so it's going to be a minute just to get those tyres back to temperature and get the grip back as well. You can see the gap between Mikael Andreasen and Reece Saunders staying around that yellow area at the minute. So that's only half a second though. Doesn't sound like a lot, but in racing terms, that is quite some margin. But he does have the calibre in him to close that gap up, so that could become amber at some point, and that's when you know the fight really is starting to spice itself up a little bit. Do you see the outside wheels there getting on the dirt there from Mikel Andreasen? Towards the back straight. Now he is in drafting range for these vehicles. But Mikel Andreasen comes into the pits, and we have someone else entering the pits as well. That is Sean Doby. There's 3 cars in the pits. It looks like the rear wing is on Glenn Humberstone's car again, so I don't think we're going to see Glenn return to racing though, because I feel like he would have already been out there. And Mikel Andreasen off underway. And same with Sean Doby as well. Alistair Hatcher, he's having a hard time at the moment with Rhys Saunders trying to get by. He was right on the rear tail of Rhys Saunders, but he's backed off a little bit now, half a tenth between the two. As you see there, the pit lane exit, entering the pit lane for Jason Landry. He's in the pit lane at the moment. 1 minute 10 for the last lap, but obviously that's with the pit lane time added there as well. Landry now on the pit exit. And again, cars all spread out again, but like I said before, they spread out, but they do come really close together at some point. And well, we've just seen how close they got together, 2 or 3 cars all mixing amongst each other, and once again, cars are spread out at the moment, but it won't be long until they reunite again. Here is your leader, Rhys Saunders, number 8. Had a good race 1, but this is a seriously strong race 2 here, leading the way with a comfortable 3-second gap to Isaac Doble as well, and maintaining that gap, which is impressive in itself. Isaac Doble being a quick racer as well. You see it's the pit exit for Alistair Hatcher. Dropped down a few positions due to the pit stops. But enjoying himself out there at that as well as Jason Landry tucked in just behind. 0.2 of a second between these two. Down the back straight now. It's unbelievable to think that these cars are doing these. I know it's the national circuit, you know, we miss out a small proportion of the Donington track, but it is amazing to think that these cars are only just over a minute for their lap times. Incredible laps really, but that tells you that we're going to be nearing 50 laps this second race here. 50 minutes as car number 5 does make the jump. Jason Landry moves up 1 position, but straight under pressure once more. Now finds himself on the outside line, and that's going to sway in his favour towards the inside, and massive favour it done him as well, as now look at the gap starting to form there already. Half a second between the car focus here. Mr. Hatcher. And Jason Landry in front. You can see they're really starting to get brave on that entrance into turn 1, using the pit lane exit and trying to get as wide as possible leading into that turn 1. And that really is keeping the pace up for these cars as well, because the amount of speed you can actually maintain if you widen up the entrance to your corners is a lot greater than you think. It does a lot more as well for you in these cars. Now, it could be a bit noisy with this, but let's jump on board here with Alistair Hatcher. Oh, you can see there a little bit of canvas here out from the top of the straight. Stay on board with him for a lap so you can see what it truly is like around Donington in these cars. 26 minutes on the clock, been and gone out of the 50. Well held there through the final chicane. As you come down, crossing over the pit lane exit there, you can see the lines almost on the right hand side of the car, cutting through the suspension arms on the right hand side of the screen there. Keeping all the way to the right hand side and switching to the left on the bottom of the hill, and you can maintain a lot of speed through here, as you can see there on that steering wheel, remaining in a high gear throughout this section of the course. Again, tucking up, cutting that apex, and again we find ourselves onto the back straight. So that's more or less an entire lap of Donington, and once again looking at it, Alistair's cut off some time to the car ahead, not a ton, but every little bit helps. So eventually this is going to reel that car in front right up to that front splitter on Alistair Hatcher's car. You can see there, look how wide he goes. Not as wide that time though. Maintain some good speed going through that first corner. Let's go over to Mikel Andreasen. Mikel, what have you got for us? Well, that time is closing down. You can see it's gone from yellow to amber. That means we're within half a second. And in fact, we're even closer than that. We're within 2/10 of each other now. So he's really catching up, and fast. You do wonder, is there something wrong with Isaac Dobell's car? Because he's not a slow driver by any means. But it might not be that. It could just be he's had the wrong line in one of those corners, and unfortunately this circuit is very much a momentum circuit, so mess up one corner and that's basically the whole lap gone, because the amount of speed you can carry through these corners and keep things flowing. You see Mikel Andreasen going up the inside line and unfortunately not able to hold that position. So Isaac Dobell remains P4 at the moment. I thought Mikel Andreasen done enough to get his nose in front and was able to take that position with some level of aggression, but it wasn't meant to be, so back to 2/10 between the two cars. Now, if only these cars did actually have DRS, this will be a DRS zone and a half right now for Mikel Andreasen, who looks up the inside but doesn't go for it in the end. Stays exactly where he is. I think he's just trying to get on Isaac's nerves a bit there. Now the cars are starting to come together. Got a couple of yellow times up on the boards as well. And again, Mikel Andreasen gets his nose up the inside, but it's not enough to maintain it. If he's going to go for it, he really needs to just send his nose up the inside and do everything in his power to hold that vehicle. I think that's the main worry as well, as these vehicles, there's a very small window in terms of keeping this car under control and letting it fall outside of that window of control and losing the car completely and either spinning or just going awfully wide on a corner, which could potentially ruin a race, a battle, or even ruin a career. You never know, you might get an injury from it. You know, you hit the wall, hit the barrier, the wheel goes, you may get a bad wrist. Who knows? Anything can happen. It's the world of sim racing at the end of the day. But Mikel Andreasen still at the moment chasing down Isaac Doble. Now, speaking of chasing down, Shane Piggott at the minute, tucked up right behind Reece Saunders. Again, not much between those two. Now we've got 3 different battles, all within half a second of each other. Just as I say that, one of them has gone just above half a second. Still got 2 within that group. As I've just noticed, we've approached the 31st minute. So there's not much time left to go here. 19 minutes left on the clock, or just under now. As you see, the time's starting to spread out again, ever so slightly. I think Sean Doby doesn't have any damage, but I saw was losing quite a lot of time quite quickly. Did have an off track though at some point. Hear the tyres going over the grass there for Shane Piggott's car. He's doing everything he can to push his car to its absolute limits to try and catch up to Saunders in front. Here's your leader, James Parker, who at the minute is in no man's land. Quickest lap time, 1 minute 4.940. So he is absolutely flying around this circuit here this evening. You see the rest of the lap times coming in for the rest of the cars. 1 minute 5s and 1 minute 7 as well from Jason Landry. Or 1 minute 5s coming in. So your leader is absolutely belting it around here now. Definitely feeling that rhythm. Smashing those lap times off and out of the park. That AirTech livery there, number 20. Who at this rate is cruising to an easy race victory. Just needs to hold it for another 16 minutes and 30 seconds. To most people, that doesn't sound like a lot at all, but in racing terms, that is a long while to try and maintain a lead, especially when you're trying to maintain a lead. It feels like it's not long enough when you're trying to chase someone down. Been in that situation before. You see that clock going down, especially in endurance races, and the team above you or the car ahead of you is within touching distance, and you've only got a few minutes left to make the move, and you know that full well when you divide it up, that's only going to be a lap or two. It does get very high on the old pressure scale. Does look like we're not going to have Glenn Humberstone join us here after that damage early on in the race. Looks like we are going to be down to the last 10. Just as I say that, looks like Dan Morey there having a bit of a slip up there on the final chicane, and has actually ended up in the pit lane. P10 for Dan Morey at the moment. Looks like a possible drive-through penalty. He's gone straight through out the other side, and he was very good to look in his mirrors there, because this man just in front of him, Isaac Doble, wasn't too far away. It looked miles apart, I'm sure, on the cameras, but I can tell you this for a fact that, well, it looks a lot closer when you're in the car. So definitely a bit of panic there for the car exiting the pits. Nevertheless, got it done in a nice and safe manner. So Mr. Morey. You see Isaac Doble at the minute closest to his opponent out of the entire field. Within half a second of Shane Piggott. Now, what can Shane do? Is he going to be able to defend this position? Think about it, he hasn't got long to do that either, so he's only really got to hold on for a few more laps. It's not going to be a terrible amount. If you think about it, we're on the 36th minute now and almost halfway through that minute as well. Means at most we're only going to see another 12 laps, but instantly on the attack is Isaac Doble, who does sit there side by side at the minute and gains that P3 spot. He's well and truly through now and onto the back straight, so wonderful work for him. Now Shane Piggott just in behind. Car number 4 in the background is Dan Morey. These two won't have to worry about Morey there in the background. He might try and overtake and get himself unlapped. But he might play the sensible option and sit off and not go for the attack, so not get involved in the battles commencing up top. Up now for Shane Piggott is dropping off big time. Here he is. He's gone from just a couple of tenths behind to 7 to 8 tenths away now from the car ahead. Not looking good for him at the minute. James Parker doing a quick lap of the session, 1 minute 4.785. So purple all around there for him. Absolutely racing in no man's land at the moment. Nonetheless, a fantastic and dominating drive thus far for the car number 20. And now we are seeing Shane Piggott into the pit lane. And he's actually got his car raised there. So he's taken some new rubber on board. As we go over to Sean Dobie here, just in the background. Now he has got Shane Piggott that come out just in front of him from the pit lane, so that's going to fill him with a bit of determination, because he can now see the next car in front of him, almost within touching distance as well. 133 at battle with 159. Who's going to come out on top here? Once again, we are seeing some people coming into the pits now. Obviously, the 121 car of Glenn Humberstone has been there for quite a while. Many laps down now. But this man here, Mikael Andreasen, has not had a terrible race. We were wondering if he was going to be able to do the defending early doors from lap 1. Unfortunately, wasn't able to keep those cars at bay. So now we find Reece Saunders leading the race here this evening. James Parker at the minute, 6/10 behind Isaac Doble. Visual car number 20. Now he was the one that I was talking about earlier, having that dominating drive, and had a massive gap between him and P2. And if anything, that's worked in his favour massively here, because yes, okay, he's no longer P1, but he's still on the podium. He's in that P3 spot at the moment. And doesn't have to worry about the car behind, because the car behind is car number 4, Dan Murray, who has been lapped. And so he won't need to panic whatsoever. He's focused on is getting around Isaac Doble in front. If he does, he'll get himself up into P2. But that's what I was going to say, that pit stop has worked incredibly for him. Managed to keep him in contention here for the higher spots. And they're going to go side by side through the apex there. Bit of contact between the two cars, but he forces his way through. And well and truly side by side there as well. So it was amazing from those two cars to actually get through there in one piece. I thought that was going to end in tears, and somehow it didn't. Car number 20, James Parker, does get the move done, and using that ability has now planted his car well and truly in front of Isaac Doble, and has pulled a couple of tenths of a second on Doble. We now head into the last 7 minutes of this race. Do you know what that means for those of you that are good at maths? It means we're probably only going to be expecting another 5 to 6 laps. Now it's only 2 tenths, or not even that, 1.5 tenths now between P2 and P3. Isaac Doble and James Parker jump on board with Doble here then. Going through the S bends there into the quick right-hander. So holding 5th gear through there under the Donington bridge. Isaac Doble there, really approaching onto the rear end of James Parker's car. He must be careful he doesn't get washed out wide or anything. That's always the tricky thing about racing. When you get up close enough behind someone and you're going through a corner, there's always a chance it could go drastically wrong for not only you, but both cars really. There's always a chance for contact, and just as I say that, we're about to see a overtake here by the looks of it, and massive overtake there well and truly up the road. Isaac Table around turn 1 already. Now James Parker's going through it. Don't know if James Parker potentially had a bit of a slowdown there, but that's going to cost him dearly as we see Jason Landry and Mikel Andreasen switching positions. And this is why side by side down the home straight then. Jason Landry currently P5 as things sit on your screen at the moment. See side by side once more. Literally nothing splitting these two at the moment, and we saw how good Mikel Andreasen's defence was in that first race, and I have to admit, it's probably one of the best defensive drives we've seen in quite a while now in these Formula 4s. Just I say that, him and Mikel Andreasen and Jason Landry have coming together. The front outside wheel, sorry, there, front left of Jason Landry makes contact with the rear right of Andreasen. He's able to get going again, but at what cost? That's going to be the question. James Parker into the pits, out of the pits once more. And he won't have to worry about Mikel Andreasen just yet, because here comes Mikel now past the pit lane exit. So he's now going into turn 1. And already James Parker at the bottom of the hill going into the quick right-hander. So shows how far apart they actually are. Only 3.5 minutes to go. There's only going to be a few more laps left before the end of our 50-minute race. Now remember, this is a little bit shorter than the racing last week. Or not last week, sorry, because that was a break week, but the week before. That's because we've done the one endurance style race. But the racing will be a little bit shorter for these drivers as well. So in terms of fatigue, it's not going to be as big of a factor in this race as it once was last time out. Let's go to Shane Piggott, who at the moment chasing down Lee Holmes, not far off of his car whatsoever for number 133. You can see there into the pits for Mr. Piggott. 133. He's going to be coming in for what I would assume is a drive-through penalty. And out he comes the other end, carries on into the 48th minute we go. As our leader does come across the line. So now there we go, bang on, 2 minutes left to go of the 50 then. So at the minute, Rhys Saunders, incredible lead. Fantastic drive. He had a good race 1, but can't be compared to race 2 really. More than double the length of time, and he's much higher up the field as well. Can't really complain at that, can he? As he comes around past the DRS boards, down the back straight. Let's see how he finds his final chicane. Quite easy, accelerating all the way through it. Green lights still at the moment. No flag from Barney. I believe he'll get this one. And one more in. As long as this is a 1:05. In fact, I think it's either way. Whether it's a 1:05 or not, there'll be one more lap. After this, it will be the white flag. So we didn't see anything this time around. Dan Morey may not be on your lead lap, but he is still fighting. He's on the back of Sean Doby's car there. 1/10 between the two. Can he get anything out of it? Doesn't look like it at the moment. Let's head back to your leader. Let's jump back on board then and see if those flags are out. See if Barney's actually doing his job. It certainly isn't, but I would be assuming that this is the last lap, judging on the time. As you can see there, it is a switch of positions for Dan Murray and Sean Doby. See there now, 7 tenths between the two, and that is rising pretty quickly as well. So a fantastic exit there out of that corner for Dan Murray out of that final chicane. Clocking in with your leader once more, Rhys Saunders. Now we have had some fantastic racing here this evening, especially from the mid-pack runners as well. Some really quick lap times, really impressive. Dipping down into the 1 minute 4s several times for multiple different people. But 1 minute 5 was the average lap time around this circuit here this evening. And there goes the number 8 down towards the start finish line to take the race victory in race 2. And there he goes, there's Barney with his white and black checkered flag. Fantastic race there for the number 8. There goes James Parker with a 1 minute 4.707, so a fantastic quick lap there right at the end. Absolute fantastic show of pace there. Now Sean Piggott, he managed to get the overtake done. He's managed to hold the position ever since through the chicane onto the start finish straight. There's the checker flag, and there is the line to come across in P6. So great race for him as well, and Landry in P7. So that is now all our cars across the line. And we are going to bring you your results here for this second race this evening. We have Rhys Saunders in P1, fantastic race win for him. James Parker P2, Isaac Doble P3, then we've got Mikael Andreasen P4, Lee Holmes P5, Shane Piggott P6, Jason Landry P7, Dan Murray P8, Sean Doby P9, Alistair Hatchett P10, Glenn Humberstone P11, and Anthony Hilton P12. So that is your racing for this evening in the Formula 4s for Next Gen Racing. Also, if you want to get involved in any of the racing provided to you by Next Gen, please do join the Discord and get involved from there. Feel free to jump in, ask any questions you want, speak to any of the racers, and just come check it out. See what it's like. It's a nice community, nice environment, so everyone is welcome. But once again, from me, thank you very much for this evening of racing. Appreciate you all coming out to watch, and we'll see you again next time for some more Formula 4s.